this point forward, just Ryu. It's a Blue Jay organization, Jimmy Bay, his wife, and their future family to Toronto. Very exciting for us. Want to acknowledge and thank Scott Boris. Without his usual tenacity, incredible level of insight and hard work, we obviously would have not gotten to this point. So Scott, thank you for working so hard with Ross on this deal. Also acknowledge our ownership group, Edward Rogers, Joe Natale, Tony Stavieri, and Jim Ryu for their support, not just in this signing, but in the belief in the plan to date. So this is the next step in what we feel is a plan to build a sustainable championship team, an exciting day for Blue Jay fans across Toronto and in Korea. So welcome, Ryu. Excited to have you here. And I'll turn it over to Ross with that.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, just briefly, just want to talk about how excited we are in thinking about adding this level of talent to the organization. One of the things that we love most about our jobs is watching on a daily and nightly basis exceptional things happening on a baseball field. And the more that we dug into Ryu and spent time learning about him, the more excited we got and the more exceptional he became to us. Really stood out his ability to command the ball so exceptionally well, get outs at every quadrant of the zone with 4 different pitches, insane athleticism and just ability on a field. It was something exceptional to watch. You truly are fun to watch play. So we welcome you. We very much look forward to your continued success, and it is remarkable what you already have accomplished, and very much look forward to the success you're going to bring to this organization, and look forward to the day that you take the mound and you're representing 2 nations. But welcome to Toronto.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ross. We will try on the uniform jersey and the hat, photo opportunity, then we'll continue with the press conference with a statement from Mr. Ryu.
Great smile your wife has.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now Ryu will make a statement followed by questions and answers. Please wait for the microphone when you ask a question and identify yourself and your media.
Good. Hello, Canada. Bonjour. First of all, special thanks to Edward Rogers, Lars, Mark, Scott, my family, and Blue Jays fans. I'm happy to be here, and I'm gonna make Toronto Blue Jays proud. Thank you. Yeah.
Now, that was wonderful, and a great introduction to Canadians and to Canada. Thank you, Ryu. Questions now from the media.
Hey, Hyun-Jin, Greg Ross from CBC. Just wondering what you know about Toronto. Do you know anything about this city? Have you followed the Blue Jays before? Do you know anything about the team?
토론토에 대해서 뭐 알고, 이거 저희가 토론토에 대해서 따라봤냐고, 토론토 블루제이스 대해서.
뭐 여기 굉장히 좋은 팀이고, 일단 어린 선수들도 훌륭한 선수들도 굉장히 많고, 또 이번에 투수들도 좋은 선수들로 많이 영입해가지고 계속해서 올라갈 수 있는 팀이라고 생각됐어요.
Toronto is always a good team. He knows that there's a lot of young players that are here that are really talented, and he also made a lot of acquisitions this year related to pitching, and he knows that this could be a good team. 시리에 대해서는 그냥 팀 말고.
굉장히 뭐 한 번 와봤고 이번에 두 번째 온 거지만 굉장히 도시 깔끔하고 되게 지금 아직까지 좋습니다.
Well, he's been here before, and this is the second time. And what he's seen so far is that it's an incredibly clean city, and it's been a joy for him to be here.
Hi, Sang from SBS. Could you tell us your main reason for picking Toronto Blue Jays as your next team?
한국 사람이 미국이니까 왜 토론토를 원하냐고 물어보네.
일단 이번 시즌 끝나고 난 후로부터 처음부터 마지막까지 나를 가장 첫 번째로 생각해줬고 그래서 계약하게 된 것 같고 또 일단 모든 선수들도 앞으로 계속 발전해갈 수 있는 선수들이 많기 때문에 선수들이랑 함께 좋은 경기하고 싶어서 결정이 된 것 같아요.
So after the conclusion of the season, he was Toronto was interested in him from the get-go, and he really liked that about the fact that Toronto was so engaged in the process. And then in researching the team, he saw that the team was very talented, very young players, a lot of young players, and that by him joining this team, he could even make it better and make Toronto competitive again.
Hi, Rosie DeMano from the Toronto Star. Just to get off baseball for a second, I understand you have a sideline career singing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what kind of music it is?
야구 말 빼고 너가 다른 거를 하는데 노래를 부르는데 그거에 대해서 좀 알고 싶대.
뭐 어디서든 할 수 있는 거고 뭐 나중에 선수들하고 시켜만 주면 준비해서 할 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
He can sing anywhere, but give him an opportunity next time, and he'll sing in front of his other players.
2013년도에 이제 경기를 치르러 한 번 왔었고 이제는 토론토의 일원이 돼서 오셨는데 그때와 지금 그 느낌이 좀 어떠세요?
So the question is, you were here in 2013, and you came back here now, obviously. What's the change that you feel in terms of the environment of Toronto?
굉장히 다른 것 같고 일단은 이제 여기가 나의 홈이고 이제 나의 팀이기 때문에 우리 팀을 위해서 항상 최선 다할 거고 뭐 그런 것 같아요.
Well, it's definitely different. Now this is his team, and this is his home, and he's going to do his best to make Toronto fans proud and do his best to perform on the field.
Hazel May with Sportsnet. This question is for Scott Boras. Scott, this franchise, as you know, hasn't signed a lot of your clients in the past. Why do you think that was? And if you could characterize the negotiations this time with Ryu, did it start to get serious at the winter meetings, or did it pick up shortly afterwards?
You know, from the general managers' meetings on, I think, you know, both Ross and Mark, I mean, we're just very persistent, understood. At the winter meetings, Mark and Ross and I spent a great deal of time together, you know, talking this through, and I think it became very apparent to Hyun-Jin that, you know, the Blue Jays were really understood him understood what value he could bring to their progressive franchise. And from Hyun-Jin's point of view, I mean, it's kind of like Canada has its Royal Canadian Mounties. Well, the Blue Jays have their Royal Youth Uprising. And so, a roo for a roo, if you will. And so it's a kind of thing where looking at a pitcher who has the ability to really have a steering wheel on the game and having, a dynamic to it with the youth here, that we really felt the components would synergize the franchise. And I think from the ownership perspective, it was very clear from our conversations with Mark that the Blue Jays were ready to move forward and start building a base to complement the young players they have, and I think advance their Royal Youth to a level of championship play.
네, 류현진 선수에게 묻겠습니다. 여기 토론토에 지금 교민이 15만 명이 사는데요. 네, 교민들한테 한 말씀 부탁드리고, 네, 그리고 감자탕을 좋아하신다고 그러는데, 네, 거주는 어디 하실 건지, 뭐 한인들이 사는 노스역에 거주하실 건지, 아니면 다운타운에 거주하실 건지, 네, 말씀 부탁드립니다.
So the question from the reporter is, there's about 150,000 Koreans in Toronto, and we understand that one of your favorite meals is potato soup, potato flavored soups. Kamjatang is kind of a unique meal. Anyway, so the second part of the question is where you plan on eating that, and then secondarily, where do you plan on living?
뭐 일단 이제 여기 굉장한 한인 팬들이 많이 있다고 들었고, 제가 13년도에 왔을 때도 제가 경기할 때 많은 응원해 주셨었던 곳이라고 생각되고, 이제 제가 이 팀으로 왔으니 더 많은 팬분들이 경기장 많이 찾아주셨으면 감사하겠고, 일단 뭐 제가 먹고 있는 거는 뭐 어디 아직 위치를 모르기 때문에 천천히 찾아 나갈 것이고, 아직 어디 살지는 못 정한 것 같아요.
So first of all, he did hear that there are a lot of Korean fans here, so he understands that. And he came here in 2013 and experienced some of the Korean fervor of the fans that are in Toronto. So he is asking for Korean fans in Toronto to come out and support him even more now that he's a Toronto Blue Jay. In terms of where he's going to live or eat, I think there's some time for him to get adjusted, and he doesn't know where that's going to be just yet.
Over here. Caitlin McGrath for The Athletic. This is for Mark or Ross. Can you just kind of explain how Ryu will complement the starting staff that you guys have already built? And also, does this move mean that you guys are satisfied with your starting pitching situation? Or are you still looking to add to the roster ahead of next season?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously an incredible compliment to, he's been at the best of the best, and obviously would be very hard to do better than him at this point in the off season, as topping a rotation. So we really at where we were in the off season, thinking about how we could make our rotation better, our sights were pointed at Ryu. And does that mean that we'll continue to look to add? It would be, as I said, it'd be hard to make it better. It'd be hard to make the rotation better at this point, but doesn't mean we won't stop trying.
Justin Dung from CH News. This could be for Mark or Ross. I was curious if, in your thinking of signing Ryu, did you think about how it could further the Jays brand internationally?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, I think it was more recognizing, what an incredibly international city Toronto is. Very aware of the Korean population here, both in students and business, and what a tight-knit community it is. And so feeling like it would be a great place for Ryu and his family to be, and feeling like it would be a great synergy with, Toronto and Canada in general. So that was a consideration, not a driving factor, but certainly something that we thought would make for a great, a great alignment in the relationship moving forward.
Rob Longley from the Toronto Sun. A question for Scott. Scott, it seems that there's a buzz in the baseball world about the young players on this team. From your perspective, how important is that when you are trying to get a client placed or get a deal? And do you see this team being on the cusp of maybe big things now that they've got an ace starter in the rotation, your client?
I think when you have not only just young players, but you have young players that are from that baseball royalty where they've come here and they've been basically raised in clubhouses and they have a history, and then they have a skill level that allows them to be considered really very differently than a lot of young players that arrive in the major leagues. And certainly their early performance illustrates that they're going to have a dramatic impact on a franchise. And so, in talking to Hyun-Jin about what he does to a franchise and having people at the top, you'll find that being in games and being competitive, it allows players to grow earlier. It allows them to be in situations where the game is on the line, and those situations develop players a lot quicker and allow them to play at certainly a playoff level caliber much earlier in their careers. And so when Hyun-Jin played for the Dodgers, you saw this happen with the Seager, with the Bellinger, and we certainly expect that the royal youth of the Blue Jays continues to grow at that pace. And as far as his singing career, by the way, is that when BTS comes to Rogers Center, we expect Hyun-Jin to sing with them. That's right.
Alexis Brudnicki, MLB.com. It seems that you would have a unique understanding of what it means to really represent a country. What does it mean for you to not only represent yours, but to represent this country now as well?
특별히 너가 한국 사람이니까 이때까지 한국 나라를 위해서 야구를 했잖아. 근데 여기도 이제 캐나다 나라를 위해서 너가 이제 야구를 해야 되는데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하냐?
일단 당연하다고 생각하고 내가 이 팀으로 왔기 때문에 이 팀을 위해서 최선을 다해야 된다고 생각하고 최고의 경기력을 보여준다고 생각하고 그거는 뭐 어느 위치에 따라서 변함은 없을 거라고 생각해.
Personally, he has no differences in terms of how he feels. As a baseball player, he knows that he has to perform, and now that he's in Toronto, he's going to treat it like what he's treated all his career in terms of professionalism.
Scott Lightfoot from CTV News. The number 99 is synonymous to Canadian sports fans as belonging to the greatest hockey player ever to play the game. Is he aware of the connection to the number, and does he aspire to be the greatest baseball player ever to wear the number in Canada, or ever to play in Canada, I should say?
Well, actually, Canada lent number 99 to LA, so with Hyun-Jin, we thought we would return it back to Canada.
Hi, Rosie again. You don't throw very hard, so can you explain what you think or what has attributed to your being such a successful pitcher?
공을 그렇게 빨리 던지는 선수는 아니지만 어떻게 좋은 선수가 됐냐?
투수는 일단 스피드가 첫 번째라고 생각하지 않고 제구가 첫 번째라고 생각하고 어릴 때부터 제구를 첫 번째로 생각하면서 던졌고 지금까지도 제구를 첫 번째라고 생각하고 아무리 빠른 공을 던져도 가운데다 던져 홈런을 맞을 수 있는 거기 때문에 스피드는 저하고는 전혀 안 맞는 것 같아요.
Obviously, speed is an important factor, but ever since he was young, he's focused on pitching as more than just being a fastball. And because if you throw it down the middle, they're going to hit it. So his repertoire of pitches, especially his changeup, has been his key, and he's going to continue to use that going forward.
Caitlin McGrath again, over here. Your deal's for 4 years, $80 million, obviously. Was it important for you to have a 4-year deal, maybe to give yourself some long-term security?
그래서 4년 계약서 4년 돼요. 이거 4년 계약서가 너한테 중요했었냐? 왜냐면 long-term security 오랫동안 안전한 마음이 필요했냐? 그렇게 물어보네.
뭐 그런 건 아닌 것 같고 뭐든지 좋은 위치에 있고 싶은 거고 일단 가장 처음부터 아까 말했다시피 가장 나를 원했던 팀이기 때문에 선택하게 된 것 같아요.
Not necessarily about the number of years. For him, what was important was where he was going to live, and the fact that he's in Toronto now, he's happy. And Toronto was the one that first pursued him, and continued to pursue him, and that's why he's here.
Question for Ross. Ross, what was the Rob over here? What was the reaction from Ryu's future teammates once the news started filtering out? Is there a genuine enthusiasm?
Yeah, it really was. It was across our organization. It was, there's a common theme in professional sports around holidays that we send text messages to one another to, say enjoy the day, enjoy the holidays, and also common when good things happen to an organization that you get bombarded with text messages, and it felt like a holiday. Multiple Toronto Blue Jays players sent me immediate text messages, and really across the organization, there was a lot of excitement. I think it speaks to the career that Ryu has already had and the excitement around the addition that he will be to this organization.
Hazel May once again with Sportsnet. It's well documented that Ryu is a beloved teammate when he was with the Dodgers and a fan favorite. Ross, you've always wanted character guys in this clubhouse. What did your research or your scouting report tell you about him as a person and about Ryu off the field?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Hazel. It really just kept getting better and better from afar. The story was already very bright, and we were already extremely encouraged about his influence in clubhouses, his influences on people, him as a man off the field. Everything we had learned just was already very positive and just continued to get better and better. Reached out to teammates before and after the sign, and the story has remained the same.
Rosie again. Can you just give us a little bit more about your early background that I'm not that familiar with? When did you start playing baseball and you're a big guy. Were you always the biggest guy on your little league teams, or when you started playing, were you always a giant?
너에 대해서 역사를 좀 더 알고 싶다는데 지금 등치가 좀 큰데 옛날부터 등치가 그렇게 컸냐 그렇게 질문하네요.
점점 커지고 있는 것 같고.
It feels like he's getting bigger every day.
일단 뭐 운동을 많이 하다 보니까 등치가 커지는 것 같아요.
Because he's working out so much, he's getting bigger and bigger. 근데 역사에 대해서 조금 더 얘기해 주세요.
아니 어릴 때는 뭐 그렇게 막 크지는 않았었던 것 같아요. 크지는 않았었는데.
When I was young, I wasn't that big.
나이 한 고등학교 정도부터 이제 갑자기 좀 크게 자랐고 그때부터 힘이 많이 붙던 것 같아요.
Around his high school years, he started getting really big, and that's when he got stronger.
Ian Harrison with Associated Press. Ryu, we heard Scott a minute ago make that reference to your time with the Dodgers, where players like Seager and Bellinger came up and helped turn that team into a winner. When you look at this Blue Jays team, do you see echoes of what you had alongside you in the clubhouse in LA, the kind of talent that could turn into that kind of team?
사실 아까 전에 얘기했는데 너가 다저스에 있으면서 시가하고 벨런저 그런 젊은 선수들이 올라오면서 다저스가 성공했잖아. 그래서 지금 똑같은 이런 상황이 같은데 이런 토론토 블루제이즈도 젊은 선수들 많은데 너 어떻게 생각하냐고 지금 물어보네.
뭐 아까도 말했다시피 지금 어린 선수들이 지금 다 주전을 꿰차면서 지금 굉장히 좋게 올라가고 있기 때문에 그건 굉장히 좋은 거라고 생각하고 팀매치로서도 굉장하다고 생각하고 그런 어린 선수들하고 같이 뛰는 게 행복할 것 같아요.
As we all know, there are a lot of young players on this team, and he feels that it's going to be a good experience for him, and it's going to be enjoyable for him to play with a bunch of young players on this team.
Daehan TVN. You talked about the young players on the roster, but how do you think your experience can help their growth within the team?
그러니까 젊은 선수에서 얘기했는데 너의 경험 있으면서 어떻게 선수들을 더 좋게 만들어줄 수 있냐?
일단은 같이 해나가야 된다고 생각하고 당연히 어린 선수들한테도 내가 다가갈 수 있는 거고 선수들한테 물어볼 수도 있는 거고 그런 거를 서슴지 않게 하면서 해야지 서로 도움이 되지 않을까 싶어요.
It's a collective effort. It's just because he's older that doesn't mean that he can't go to a young player or vice versa. It's a group effort to be on a team, and that's what he plans on doing.